she was good, she was very, very good. But when she was bad, she was Veronica. Back in 2013, I'm home from college at a family reunion at a lake with my parents. Early on in the day, my dad falls in the lake with his phone in his pocket, and this is back when phones weren't water resistant, so none of the buttons were working and the screen wasn't showing anything. Without any rice around, we just put it in my mom's purse. Several hours later, we get in the car ready to leave, and we start hearing something coming from my mom's purse. We pull out my dad's phone, and it's a message being played on a loop. "Hey, this is," my mom's name. "I'm just calling to tell you that we're at the Hummingbird Festival." There was nothing inherently creepy about what was said in the voice message, pretty basic, except for the fact that none of us, including my mom, had ever heard of this Hummingbird Festival. The voice was unmistakably my mom's voice, introducing herself as my mom, first and last name. We couldn't get the message to stop playing until it stopped on its own after about a half hour. The phone never worked after that. We have no rational explanation for what happened and have just accepted it was some glitch in reality. About 10 minutes ago, I was in the laundry room folding while my son, 4, and daughter, 23 months, watched Disney in the living room. Our front door is propped open to let fresh air in, but the security door is locked. My husband is at a friend's house getting help with a programming project, and I hear this. 4-year-old, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy!" 23-month-old, "Daddy, Daddy!" Husband's voice, "Hey guys, where's Mommy?" 4, "She's doing laundry." Husband, "Oh, is she folding clothes?" 4-year-old, "Yeah." 23-month-old is still saying "Daddy" throughout. I finish what I'm folding and walk into the hall to see if husband wants help with dinner. He's not in the house. Okay, so maybe he went back outside to get something else from the car. With the front door propped open, the security system doesn't chime when you go in and out. I look at the door. His car isn't here. Me, "Hey, 4-year-old, where did Daddy go?" 4-year-old, scrunches up face and looks confused. "Maybe he's at work." Me, "Weren't you just talking to him?" 4-year-old, "No." I checked the security camera and didn't catch anything. I feel like it was either a glitch or a parallel universe bled into this one for a moment. Me, my husband, and our daughter went to have a mini vacation at my mom's house, who lives almost 3 hours away from us. We spend the day there, and all is well until it gets to be dinner time. I take my daughter's sippy cup. It's the kind with a sassy saying and the only one of its kind that we had, and hand it to my husband so he can have it while he watches our daughter while I'm grocery shopping with my mom. We get back to her house, and my daughter starts saying she wants juice. I asked my husband where the sippy cup was, and he says he set it down on the table, but it's gone. We looked everywhere, and it's completely disappeared. Defeated, I go back to the store and buy her another one. We finish the vacation without incident. About 3 to 4 months after coming back home, I noticed a hard bulge in my couch. It's not like something had fallen in there. It looked as if it was placed there while it was made. I've never noticed this before, and curiosity gets the better of me, so I cut open the couch. It was my daughter's sippy cup that disappeared from my mom's house several months ago. I've never been able to explain this one away, so I chalk it up to being a glitch. This happened quite a few years back. My daughter was on the elementary tag football team, and I was at the game, sitting on the sidelines in my folding chair. My husband and youngest daughter were with me. The game ended. We packed up our things and walked to the car. Everything was loaded, and I was about to get my youngest into the car, and shit went sideways. I've had a lot of strange things happen in my lifetime, but this one is at the very top. As I was opening the back door of the car, the sky folded. I watched the blue sky, the clouds, the parking lot. It, for lack of a better word, folded into itself. It got very bright and then very dark. It lasted maybe 5 seconds, or did it? It was almost like time wasn't a thing. It is very difficult to explain. I can still see it in my head. It was so disorienting and terrifying. I remember falling and feeling the gravel of the parking lot cutting my hands and my head hitting the car door, and for I don't know how long there was nothing. When reality came back, I was sitting in my folding chair watching the game. Time had restarted just before the game ended. I have no rational explanation for what happened that day. I had never experienced anything like that before, nor has it happened again. This just happened, and my fiancé and I are a little freaked out. He couldn't find his phone, and I offered to call him. When he found his phone, he answered on speaker and said, "Hello," while next to me. I answered with, "Hello," too. But when we heard my voice coming from his phone, it was me clearly saying, "Hey." We looked up at each other, and I ended the call. We couldn't come up with a rational explanation, which does not mean there isn't one, we just couldn't think of one. Edit. It made me feel like those scenes in horror movies where a character is standing in front of a mirror and their reflection doesn't match their movements. This blew me away today. I took a doorknob off my bathroom door to replace it. The new one was encased in its impossibly sealed plastic home, and the old one was sitting in the sink. I reached down to grab the new one and looked at the empty hole in the door where the old knob was, to be amazed that the old knob was still in the door. The actual old knob I took off the door was still on the sink, and the new knob was still sealed. This third knob just appeared back in the door. I stood there for a minute looking at everything, twisted the new third knob, and it was there. Finally, I went downstairs to get my wife, came back upstairs, and the third knob was gone. My wife thought I was insane, but that shit was there. Sorry in advance for my English, it's not my first language. So last Sunday I decided to go to the supermarket in my neighborhood with my daughter, and we took a shortcut. It's a street where there are several kebab places, bakeries, etc., and I haven't been there in months. I'm a big fan of Italian sandwiches, so I was pretty excited when I saw an Italian sandwich shop, which was closed for the day. I even stopped and checked out what they were offering. There were photos, descriptions, everything, and I told myself I'd come back on Monday. Monday came, and I went there, and the sandwich shop wasn't there. It wasn't closed. There was nothing else in its place. It was just gone. Everything on the street was the same, except this. I felt dizzy and nauseous, and every time I think about this place, for some reason my head starts spinning and I feel like I'm about to throw up. I don't know what happened. It's not possible that I messed up the street, because I've lived in this neighborhood for 15 years and I know it pretty well. Have you had similar experiences? Almost 2 years ago, my wife and I took an 8-hour road trip to the desert to celebrate my birthday. Both of us were heavy smokers, and as a birthday gift to myself, I decided to quit. She wasn't as stoked as I was, but since it was my birthday trip, she agreed to let me hog the stereo on the way home so I could listen to an audiobook called Easy Way to Quit Smoking by Alan Carr. The thing about this book is that the reader is encouraged to smoke while they read. or in my case, listen to, the book and only decide if they want to quit after they have finished. So we're driving and smoking and listening to this book while driving through the mountains of northern Arizona when we both heard a loud bang at the same time. I feel something hit my chest, followed by my left pec muscle getting really cold. I look down and see a puff of smoke coming from the left pocket of the flannel shirt I was wearing at the time. I was 100% sure I had been shot, so I instinctively put my hand under the shirt, expecting to feel a bloody hole, but there was nothing there, just a cold patch of skin. So I felt around in the pocket of my shirt and pulled out a bunch of sharp plastic pieces. It took a few seconds to make sense of what happened. The lighter I was carrying in that pocket had, for no apparent reason, exploded. The cold feeling came from the butane escaping, which I had mistaken for smoke. I had smoked for over 20 years and had never had a lighter spontaneously combust like that. My wife had never experienced it either, and the fact that it happened while listening to a book about not smoking anymore, at the exact second I was thinking about lighting up another one, makes the whole thing feel a little more like a miracle. Before you ask, this wasn't a high-quality disposable lighter like a Bic. This was one of those transparent plastic ones you buy for 89 cents at the gas station, and I had probably used it to open several beers that weekend, so its structural integrity could have been questionable. Still, the timing was pretty incredible. Also, while we continued to smoke for the rest of the drive, we finished the book about the same time we rolled into our driveway, and neither of us have had a cigarette since. This was truly unnerving. I was at a restaurant with my mother and sister, and as we were looking at the menu, I hear someone call my name. This is where it gets really odd. Usually, people who think you're someone else don't use your name, and they'll say they're sorry, they thought you were someone else. However, when I turned around to look at them, they didn't say, "Sorry, wrong person." They looked encouraged and repeated my name, then tried to jog my memory by telling me where we'd met, a workplace I never had any interaction with whatever. I couldn't think of what to say, so I blurted out, "I'm sorry, I don't know you," and they genuinely looked confused and left. It's still as jarring as it was that day. I have 2 metal gates for climbing vines, about 3 foot tall, thinner at the bottom, about a foot, spreads to the top maybe 1.5 feet, vertical 5 thin metal bars, horizontal 4 bars, ground 1 is flat, other 3 are curved, and all 4 connect the vertical bars. Bars are a few millimeters thick. Yes, I'm American, hence the blend of scales. They are turquoise-ish. I repurposed them as sidewalk sides to stand on either side of my walkway to show where to snowblow in winter for the HOA people. So the second one that I had set up had a reddish-brown 3/4-inch thick vine about 1.5 feet long wrapped around it, with little fiddly tendril bits. It sat out there for weeks like that. Finally, I decided to remove it. I untangled it and snipped sections with an electrical pliers as I did. I cleaned it all up, all the little fiddly bits. Both are perfectly clean and like new and framing my walkway. The next few weeks, I constantly sit outside on my porch staring at them as the weather was nice. Suddenly, around November 28th, 2022, as I got up in the morning, I opened my curtains, and immediately my eyes are drawn to the gate that had the big reddish vine previously. It now has a 1.5-foot-long, old dried piece of gray vine on it. I did a quadruple take, threw on sneakers, and headed outside. An old, dry vine segment appeared on this gate after being meticulously cleaned for 2 weeks. It's gray, about 4 millimeters in width, about 1.5 feet long. I'm not prone to delusion and am often accused of being hyper-aware of everything, This vine was not in the universe that I inhabited for the last month at least. I live alone, so I can't ask if anyone else noticed. So, hi, new universe. I hope this one is better than the last one that I lived in. May your glitches be in your favor. Thanks for letting me share. This was a couple of years ago now. I was staying at my childhood home right before my mom was going to be moving. I'd spent that day helping her pack and going through my childhood things and was kind of excited to sleep in my childhood room one last time. I was pregnant at the time, so I was struggling to get comfy in bed and hadn't slept yet when it got to be 1 in the morning and I knew my husband was just getting home from work by then. I decided to just call him briefly to say goodnight, and maybe by then I'd be tired enough to just fall asleep. I've always had to pace when I talk on the phone, so I just instinctively started pacing, occasionally passing my bedroom door. As I was on the phone with him, I saw my mom walk by my bedroom door, heading for the bathroom. Same pajamas she fell asleep in, same curly hair in a ponytail. It was clearly, even in very dim lighting, my mom. I didn't think much of it at first, aside from worrying that I'd woken her up. I was all set to apologize for my noise when I realized from where she was, she couldn't have walked into the bathroom door. She must have walked into the wall next to the door closer to my bedroom. I went silent. My husband still says he's never had goosebumps the way he did when I went silent and then finally spoke. He says it was probably about 2 minutes. As I'd realized she hadn't been in the pathway to the door, I also started to realize that I could still hear my mother snoring away in the room next to me. I felt frozen in fear, but I slowly left my room, looked towards the bathroom, which was pitch black, and nervously walked to her door. She always kept the door open for her cat to go in and out. There was just enough light from the kitchen area to see into her room. My mom was right there in bed, sound asleep. I quickly got back to my room and tried to find the words to tell my husband what just happened. I still don't understand why or how. My husband and I have talked about it so many times now, and thinking about that night still gives us chills. It just doesn't make sense. Hey folks, thanks for listening. If you like what you heard and you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe and hit the like button, as they're both very helpful to my growth here on YouTube. If you have something you'd like to say or a suggestion or just want to say hello, please leave a comment. I love to hear from you guys, and I usually do reply. If you have a story of your own you'd like to share and possibly have read on the channel, send it to me at veronica45stories@gmail.com. Link is also in the description, as are other ways to support the channel if you feel so inclined. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it beyond measure. And until next time, be good.